Guys, Chipotle stock is in a complete free fall. It's dropped about 19% over the past couple days, and that's 45% drop in stock valuation this year. Why? Jobs matter, guys. Robots don't eat. They don't eat food. And today we're just gonna kind of cover what's happening in the job market as a whole and why it's impacting Chipotle in such a prolific way. Because I think there's several things that you may not have considered are happening that are happening. Because guys, we've been covering this news on this channel for months now. If you're watching this channel, this type of thing should not be a surprise to you. So stay in the know, smash subscribe, smash like. I'm bringing you a fresh episode about the job market, AI, automation, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. So what happened? Why would the stock drop so precipitously over such a quick period of time? Well, they keep failing to hit their projected sales goals. And while their year-over-year growth is up as far as sales go, that's basically because they're opening new stores. What is not working is sales in existing stores, okay? And again, robots don't buy food, guys. So while people continue to be replaced by AI and automation, they're just not gonna have the same type of cash to go out and buy a burrito for 15 bucks. They're just not gonna be able to do it, which, by the way, we're gonna talk about in a moment, because there is a public perception that it cost $15 to go to Chipotle when their position is, well, it's actually only $10 to get a burrito. If you don't get your drink and you don't get this and that. What do you think? When is the last time you went to Chipotle and how much did it cost you? Because I took my family there a little while ago. It was over $50 for my family to eat. So I don't know what to tell you. And I love Chipotle, by the way. I'm a Chipotle fan, but we're gonna get into some of the problems here, okay? So we're seeing all these layoffs. Robots don't buy food, which is something that you guys continuously say in the comments. Hey, if all these people are getting fired, they're not gonna have money to buy the products and services that these companies are selling. You know, we just covered a couple days ago, I'll post a link to a video here. Amazon has laid off 30,000 people. Tons of white collar workers, corporate executives laid off. Well, what are these people gonna do? The idea here is, well, if they're fired, they're not gonna have money to actually buy the Amazon products. So it's like an Ouroboros snake that's eating its own tail. And I think that's a really valid concern. I believe that people are gonna find new jobs and there's gonna be new opportunities and you're gonna solve new problems. But regardless, that's a long-term vision. Short-term, there's gonna be a lot of pain. And this is not historically inaccurate. Historically, we see pain. Like, do you guys remember the Great Depression? Are we that far removed from history that we don't remember that? This is not new, guys. There are ebbs and flows, and unfortunately for our children and for us, we've been living through what I would consider a pretty prosperous time. Anyway, let's not get off topic. Let's listen to what the CEO, Scott Boatright, has to say. And by the way, if you stick around to the end, I do have a couple tips for you to make sure that you're able to continue eating burritos. So stick around to the end. As my pastor says, there's a blessing at the end. All right, anyway, CEO Scott Boatright had some, I think, interesting insights. So he said that there was a massive pullback from households with incomes under $100,000. And by the way, that's 60% of the population. That's 80 million people. 80 million people are in households that are making under $100,000. And this is what he says here, quote, "We believe that this guest with household income below $100,000 represents about 40% of our total sales. And based on our data, is dining out less often due to concerns about the economy and inflation." Fact check true. Fact check true. You're right, Scott. The question is, what are you gonna do about it? Anyway, fact check true. He also makes a comment about diners ages 25 to 35 being their key demo. He says, quote, "A particularly challenged cohort is the 25 to 35-year-old age group. This group is facing several headwinds, including unemployment, student loan repayment, and slower real wage growth." Fact check true. Guys, again, this should not be a surprise. I'm just so shocked when I go on X and I see people like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. This is so surprising. Guys, we've been covering this for months. I'll post a link to a video here. We talked about the problem of college graduates not being able to find jobs. You're going to college with this promise that you're gonna get skills, you're gonna learn you're gonna find job opportunities, you're gonna get hired, but the reality is that we've had a huge spike. At the time I recorded that video, I think this was about 3 months ago, college graduate unemployment rate had jumped from 5.8% to 6.6%. So these kids, God bless them, are going to school with this promise that is not being delivered on the back end because companies have slowed hiring, especially college graduates, because they don't have street smarts. They got book smarts, they don't have street smarts. And why do you need someone with book smarts when you have AI? These companies are using AI to, I'm telling you, and you guys you can feel free to disagree with me, but from what I can tell, and what companies are telling us, is that they are using AI and automation to streamline operations, and they're firing tens of thousands of people, and then using AI and pressure on the existing staff to fulfill these tasks. And what happens when all these people get laid off? They're gonna stop eating burritos at Chipotle. And just, real talk here, my wife and I sat down last month and we were looking at our expenses, how much is coming in and how much is going out. I said, babe, we are spending way too much money eating out. Way too much money. So, we were at a place where we were eating out 5-6 times a week. And we said, listen, from moving forward, we're gonna have 2 days a week that we eat out. We're gonna go out for pizza with the family on Friday night, whatever. And then Sundays after church, we like to eat out, right? So those are our 2 days. And what happened? We pay a lot less in food now. We reduce our food cost. And I don't think that we are alone in that. I don't think we're alone in that. Let's go into a little bit more depth here on this collapse, because I think that there is something that has not been talked about. And I think it's really important, and that is the CEO, okay? Recently, in the late 2024, the CEO, Brian Niccol, left Chipotle and went to Starbucks, okay? He was with Chipotle for 6 years and the company crushed it. Chipotle was just growing, thanks to Brian Niccol. And now he's over at Starbucks, he's implementing these new AI strategies, he's optimizing things over there, and we'll see how successful he is at Starbucks. But guess what happened when Brian Niccol left Chipotle? They stopped hitting their sales numbers. And, one of the things that I also see on X, a lot of times from politicians, is they claim that, why are CEOs getting paid so much when you, the common man, can't make a dime? And listen, I don't need to make tens of millions of dollars to be happy. I really don't. I'd be just as happy with my feet in the grass playing soccer with my kids. Just as happy. I don't want to worry about money, but I don't need lots of it. Does that make sense? Smash like if you're with me. However, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the top leadership at a corporation doesn't matter, because it matters a lot. And I think my hypothesis here, and feel free to debate me on this, is that when you lose a really good leader, a really good CEO, the organization goes downhill. You see this in sports, and you see this in business. You need to have great leadership at the top. And I would surmise that the loss of Brian Niccol hurts a lot in combination with these other macroeconomic factors, okay? We talked about this at length, so I'm not gonna go into more, but robots don't buy food. You guys know this, you keep saying this, and I agree with you. I agree with you, it's a problem. Again, my answer to that common thing that I see people say, well, if Amazon lays off all these people, if Chipotle lays off, if these companies are laying off all these people, who's gonna buy their product? And my answer is, well, people are still gonna buy it. They're just gonna have to adapt to find new jobs and find new problems to solve. And I've said this repeatedly on the channel, that the problems I'm solving today are not gonna be the same problems that I'm solving 2 years from now. I believe that. And we're gonna talk about how to my perspective on how to resolve that. But I am kind of come to terms with the fact that I'm gonna need to reinvent myself every 2 years for the rest of my life. We're living through a very, very interesting time in human history, guys. If you're like me, you're in your, millennial, you got a family, you got a wife. This is a really important time in human history. This is like the printing press, this is like the wheel, this is like the discovery of fire. AI and automation and home robotics are gonna change everything. And I think it's unrealistic to think that the way that you've lived the last 40 years of your life is going to be the way you're going to live the next 40 years. It is going to be completely different, completely different. And again, that's why I'm on the channel trying to bring awareness to these ideas and news within some context that makes sense. I'm just an average guy, guys. I'm a normal guy. I'm not incredibly smart, but you know, I'm a marketer for a SaaS company. I've run some small production agencies. Like I've run a sales organization in a major insurance company. But you know, listen, I'm a regular guy just trying to feed my family. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so we've talked about losing the CEO and why leadership matters. We've talked about how you start firing everyone, you're not gonna have people to actually buy your products. Inflation, obviously an issue. Quick side note, I remember bringing this out a couple years ago, a few years ago when we were just pumping. So this was after COVID, or during like the middle of the COVID lockdowns, we were just pumping so much money into the economy. And I remember posting on social, how is this not going to lead to inflation? And I had one of my friends, very smart guy, he's like, well, that's the M1 money supply, and you got to think about the M2 money supply. I'm like, you know, with all due respect, if you're going to pump hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars into the economy and think that it's not going to lead to inflation, you can talk modern monetary theory all you want, but it's going to happen. Anyway, inflation has happened. It is happening. It seems like it's cooling. Who the hell knows? All these people are cooking their books when it comes to data, but you know, I know that everything costs more for me. Do you? Think it costs more for you too? And then the last thing I want to point out here is on the failure and the failings at Chipotle is inconsistency. When I walk into a restaurant that's a chain, I want it to be essentially the same experience at every chain I go to. Okay, I know if I walk into a Dunkin' Donuts, it's going to be this menu, it's going to be this level of quality. If I go into a McDonald's, same thing. It should be. If I walk into a chain, I'm going in because it has the experience, right? Granted, mom and pop shops are my favorite, but you know, if I'm in a town I don't know and I'm like, okay, I like Subway, I'm gonna go into Subway. I wanna make sure it's the same thing. This has been a problem at Chipotle. And I don't know about you, but you know, I don't know if it's a training problem, I don't know if it's a turnover issue, but they're wildly inconsistent. I can walk, and I saw a post on X yesterday where someone showed a burrito, two burritos. One burrito from the same restaurant had been ordered in person, and the other had been ordered online through DoorDash, whatever. They were completely different sizes. The one in person was like, that they got in person was completely bloated. There's no way of measuring how much food is going into that burrito, okay? I will also say that in previous, you know, where I've, you know, in cities I've lived, I knew the good Chipotles, I knew the bad Chipotles. I knew if I go to this Chipotle, I'm gonna get stale chips every single freaking time. And if I go to this Chipotle, they don't replace the soap in their bathroom frequently enough. I knew the bad Chipotles, I knew the good Chipotles. Your company cannot survive like that. There needs to be some consistency in the quality, okay? And I don't know if you've had that same experience. I've had that experience personally. I know there was a Chipotle I didn't go to for a year because they never changed the soap. I went to the men's room 3 times in 1 week and the soap was empty every time. You think I'm gonna keep eating there? No, done, not going there anymore. So what do we do, guys? What do we do? Jobs are being laid off, money is not flowing, cash flow is an issue, people are holding back, they're not buying $15 burritos anymore. And by the way, again, just a quick side note, you know, Chipotle did say there's a misconception about the price of the burritos. I don't know what to tell you about the misconception, bro. I know that if I go to Chipotle and I eat there, it's gonna be at least $15 for me to eat there. And maybe I'm in a $15 mood, maybe I'm not, but that is a reality. And you know, I'm a 40-year-old who does pretty well for myself, but you know, if you're a college kid, you're not gonna be in it. You're losing your demo, guys. You're losing your demo. So anyway, let's talk about what do we do? How do we prepare? So the first thing, and this is what we're doing, you know, again, we're not eating out as much because we realize that we can eat at home for less, especially when you're feeding, you know, 2 kids, way less. And I know I'm not going to stop investing. Okay. I'm going to continue putting money into stocks, into crypto, into, you know, paying off loans, etc. You know, you want to own something, guys. You got to invest. You know, I don't understand the mentality of not investing. You should be investing on a regular basis. Keep doing that, okay? And by the way, I had a comment on the channel the other day from someone who said, kind of snarky comment, which is fine. I'll accept it. He said, I had made a comment that my stock portfolio for the year is up 33%. And he said, I'm so glad that your stocks are up while people are getting fired. And my response, I just want to respond to that comment. I can't control Amazon firing 30,000 people. If UPS fires 48,000 people, I can't control that. That is outside my control. What is inside my control is putting money away by investing money intelligently. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't understand why you're equivocating me with the firing. I just thought it was a very interesting comment, blaming me for people being fired. I just thought that was interesting. You know, my hope is that those people are able to find great quality, fulfilling jobs. And again, that's part of what I'm trying to do here on this channel. Be aware that the job losses are coming, that replacement is coming, that AI and automation are coming. Accept it and then control what you control. All right. So just a quick side note there. Spend wisely. Obviously, just kind of talked about that. I also want to point out that, you know, now is maybe not the best time to switch up jobs. I was talking to someone the other day and was asking me, hey, you know, I'm currently working at this organization and it pays good and I'm a key employee and I've been there a long time, but I'm not sure this is what I want to do the rest of my life. This young woman is about a little under maybe 30 years old or so. I said, well, cool. Just understand that the job market is crazy out there right now. And where you're at this point is a stable company. You have a history there. You're not going to get fired. You don't have to work there forever, but just understand that we are going through a very tumultuous time in human history where jobs are being replaced en masse. So if you decide to leave the organization you're at now to go to a new organization, the new people are going to get laid off first at those new organizations. So, you know, on one hand, you know, you don't want to be stuck doing the same job that you're not passionate about your whole life. However, I don't necessarily know, you know, if you're in a good situation now, I don't think it's a great time to be jumping ship. I think you want to double down on the relationships. Now, that is not to say, tip number 3, that you should not be learning new skills. You should absolutely 1000% be talking to your bosses, your clients, your customers, everyone to see these are new skills that I want to learn. How can I learn them while still being a part of this organization? And a company that I'm working with now, we were kind of talking about different job roles and different initiatives. I said, listen, I want to personally learn a lot more about answer engine optimization. I want this company to be crushing it on ChatGPT. I want anytime someone types in a question into ChatGPT, our company shows up. That's what I want because A, I think it's a great opportunity. B, I want this to be a skill that I can stack, that I can put in my back pocket. And I think that's the way we should be thinking. You don't necessarily need to jump ship and go to different organizations, but it's a really important time to be learning, identifying where your field is going and how can you leverage the tools in your field to improve. All right. And then lastly, I talked about this yesterday, challenge to you all. Relationships are going to matter much more now than they have probably than any time in the past. So my challenge to you is next time you're on your phone or you're in your car, pop open your phone and call someone that you respect but you have not spoken to in a while. The relationships are going to matter more than I think you and I even understand. So do that. And if you enjoyed today's video, thanks for liking, subscribing. And you're going to be fascinated by yesterday's video. We talk about how UPS has laid off 48,000 people. 48,000, and they are not done. Check out yesterday's video. Guys, AI and automation are coming for everyone, and it's going to trickle down through every single organization. Every person at every organization in every field is going to be impacted, just like we saw at Chipotle today. The automation and AI-driven layoffs are impacting people's ability and desire to buy $15 burritos. I'll see you in yesterday's video, boys. See ya. Peace.